Hello and welcome to this lecture. Today we are going to discuss adenoreceptors, and the topic for today's discussion is what are adenoreceptors, where they are located, and then later on in our next lecture we will discuss their pharmacological activities. So what are adenoreceptors? They are also known as alpha receptors, and they are known as G protein linked receptors. And we already discussed G protein receptors in our previous lecture. So what is the function of these adenoreceptors? The main thing is they increase inositol triphosphate and diacylglycerol. So what are inositol triphosphate and diacylglycerols? They are known as second messenger. And actually the function of inositol triphosphate is to increase the presence of free calcium ion. And this increase of the calcium ion will help to regulate the smooth muscles. And where this calcium will be stored, they are present inside the cellular organelles, and from where the inositol triphosphate is just like a messenger that activate to release more free calcium, and then helps to perform the normal physiological functions. Whereas diacylglycerol, which is also known as second messenger, it is also responsible to regulate different proteins. So I mentioned in the next point that it increased the intracellular calcium, and then I also mentioned that it inhibit adenylyl cyclase and reduce cyclic EMP, which is another second messenger. And by inhibition of adenylyl cyclase, it reduces cyclic EMP. And the function of adenylyl cyclase is we will discuss in our upcoming slides. But it is also an enzyme that is responsible for reducing the cyclic AMP. What is cyclic AMP? A stand for adenosine, M stand for mono, P stand for phosphate. So it is cyclic adenosine monophosphate, which is another second messenger, just like inositol triphosphate and diacylglycerol. So you have to understand that these receptors are working in such a way, you can say that these all are messengers. And just like, for example, when a postman come to your place, they bring something to you, said like you bring some gift from Shopee, or you buy something online, and then the postman post laju will come and deliver you the package. Same, the function of these all uh, functional messengers are just like a messenger that carry the signal, and that signal is responsible for normal physiological function. Or when a drug act on these receptors, they activate and then they perform the pharmacological activities. So you have to understand this is pharmacology is all about receptors, how receptor work, how signaling messengers work, and how they changes the level of either increase of the hormone in term of increase of the the ligand, or increase of the or decrease of the intracellular calcium or sodium or potassium. So that's what it work like that. So this, if you remember in our previous lectures when I discussing about G-linked protein receptors, uh, this is the same picture, and they mentioning that when an agonist molecule, which could be a drug molecule, that bound with the receptor, like alpha receptor, they mention alpha 1 receptor, they activate the G coupled protein receptors or G receptors. They mention here activation of GQ coupled protein receptors. And by working the drug, or by binding the drug with that alpha receptors, you can see that this GQ molecule have some subunits, and that subunits are expressed as beta subunit, gamma subunit, and alpha subunit, and they work with the help of guanosine diphosphate. So what happens when the drug will bind with that receptor? This alpha receptor will get detached from that G coupled protein receptor and then bind with another messenger, which is phospholipase, which is an enzyme, phospholipase C, which is responsible for the production of inositol triphosphate that I mentioned in my previous slide. And by increasing the inositol triphosphate, that this positive sign is showing you the increase of the inositol triphosphate, the stored calcium that is present inside the cells, inside the cell organelles, will be released calcium, and when the release of the more calcium, then it activate protein kinase, and then they perform this action on the smooth muscles. And we will discuss the role of calcium in our upcoming lecture as well. So that's how this mechanism works. So we mentioned again that adenoreceptors are, they also alpha receptors, but adenoreceptors also beta receptors. So there are two type of adenoreceptors. One is alpha receptor, and the second one is beta receptor. Beta receptor is also G-linked protein receptors, which function to activate adenylyl cyclase and increase cyclic EMP. So the function of adenoreceptors in beta is just like opposite to alpha receptor. In alpha receptor, we are talking about the decrease of the cyclic EMP, whereas in beta receptor, we're talking about increase of the cyclic EMP. And we already know that cyclic EMP is also known as second messengers, and they are responsible for different signaling molecules for the synthesis of different functions, for the synthesis of protein. So cyclic EMP, we all know, is responsible for the synthesis of protein kinase, and that protein kinase is responsible for the synthesis of protein molecules. So that's how this mechanism works. This is another picture of for the beta receptors. Same like the agonist molecule, they bind with the beta receptor, and beta receptor bind with GS molecule, which also have the beta unit, alpha unit, and GS unit. So what happened that this alpha unit get detached from the receptor, and then they bind with adenylyl cyclase, and that adenylyl cyclase binding with that receptor, that plus sign is showing you the binding with that receptor is showing you to responsible, or it is responsible for conversion of ATP into cyclic AMP. And what is ATP? Adenosine triphosphate. Whatever you take energy, you work, you play, you do your hard work, you are working in your exams. I know you are busy with your final examinations and so many things. And these all functions is why, because the presence of ATP. And from where the ATP is produced, it is produced from the mitochondria. So what is actually happening that when adenylyl cyclase bind with the GTP, it activates the synthesis of cyclic EMP by conversion of ATP to cyclic EMP, and then with the increase of cyclic EMP, it also again functional for responsible with working with the protein kinase, and with the enzyme, with the presence of enzyme, I'm not going to discuss, because that enzyme they mentioned, they binding with the phosphate molecule, and then they're producing the effect. So in brief, you have to understand step one, the agonist bind with the beta receptors. Number two, after that the receptor is bind with the receptors, it detach from the subunits. Number three, it bind with adenylyl cyclase. Number four, by binding with adenylyl cyclase of the GTP with adenylyl cyclase, conversion of ATP into cyclic AMP. Number five, the increase of the cyclic AMP is responsible with the help of protein kinase and with the help of enzyme to produce the pharmacological effect or biological effect. So that's how that functions work. So when we talk about distribution of adrenergic receptors, we also already discussed a little bit in the last lecture. We are going to discuss again that there are alpha 1 receptors, there are alpha 2 receptors, there are beta 1 receptors, beta 2 receptors, beta 3 receptors. Then we have D1 receptors and D2 receptors, and they are present in different parts of the tissues. Like alpha 1 is present in the smooth muscles, dilatory muscles, pilomotor smooth muscles, prostate, heart, and their functions is when they act on the smooth muscles they cause contraction. When they act on pupillary muscles it can cause contraction, and that result in dilation of the pupil. Then if it react into smooth muscles it can erect the hairs. If it act on prostate it can cause contraction. If it work on your heart it increase the force of contraction. Then we have alpha 2 receptors that is present in CNS, platelets, then adrenergic and cholinergic nerve terminals. Then it act on the smooth muscles, then it also act on the fat cells. And if you see one by one functions, when it act on CNS it have a multiple functions. We will discuss separately in next lectures. Then when it act on the platelets it can cause platelets aggregation. When it act on adrenergic and cholinergic nerve terminal it can cause the inhibition of transmitter release, and it can cause the inhibition of acetylcholine. Then we have if it work on vascular smooth muscles it can cause contraction. If it act on fat muscle it can inhibit lipolysis. Then we have beta 2 receptors which act on heart and juxtaglomerular cells in the kidney, which the function is to increase the force of contraction and increase of the release of the renin. And renin is very important hormone. And what is the function of renin? It regulates the blood pressure. Then we have some other receptors like skeletal muscles where it promote the potassium uptake. Then it also occur in the human liver and activate glycogen lysis. It means it help to break down the glycogen. Then it also act on the bladder, which is responsible for relaxation of detrusor muscles. Then it act on the fat cell and activate lipolysis. When it act on D1 receptors on the smooth muscles, it dilate the renal blood vessels. Or if it act on the nerve ending of the D2 receptors, then it modulate the transmitter release. So you have to see that in general there are different kind of receptors. They act on different tissues and their actions will be different depending upon the location of these receptors. So thank you so much for today's lecture. Hope to see you again in upcoming lectures. We will discuss these all functions in detail in our upcoming lectures. Thank you.